Okay, I think we're live. So welcome to the this week's Chen chat. So the date is 23rd of June, which is summer seems to be flying ahead of us quite quickly, which is good. So I had a chat with Chen this morning, as I always do, and Chen was quite keen this morning to talk about light workers, which was an interesting topic. I wasn't exactly sure what he was meaning by light workers. I know we talk about light workers, but it's kind of like a general phrase, I guess, really, in the kind of spiritual arena. So I wasn't exactly sure what he was thinking about, or in terms of how he wanted to cover that subject. But that's what we're going to talk about today. We're going to talk about light workers and the way that people perceive themselves, the way that people work that are light workers, the things that we do, the things that we say, how we can influence other people. So I'm just closing a few programs down on my PC just to make sure we've got no bandwidth problems, which is always good. Just do that. Okay, so just bear with me. So if you're joining on the Facebook streams or YouTube streams, obviously you can ask us. You can ask us for conversation, or if you've got questions, you can pop them in the comments chat, which will be good, and then we'll hopefully try and answer those for you as things come up. So I'm just going to stop that, which will be good. Okay, so that's Google Drive stop syncing. Perfect. So I think I'm going to say hi to Sarah, who's in Dorset as well, which is where we are actually, Sarah. Funnily enough, we're at the van this week, well, until tomorrow. So we're down in the heat, which is good. So we turned up at the caravan a couple of days ago. It was like 31 degrees, and it went up to 33, which was kind of stifling, really. Even the dog didn't want to do too much. So, but now we're back down to normal UK temperatures. It's back in the 20s, which is much more livable, I guess, when you're in a caravan. It's all good. So hi to Agata, who's joining. Jane's obviously joining from the other room, which is good, so she can check the audio, make sure that everything sounds good. Because we did do a recording a few weeks ago, actually, and I used the wrong mic. I was using the mic from the PC, not the normal good mic, and it came across that the sound was not particularly fantastic. So apologies to any of you that watched that or heard that particular episode. It wasn't very good. It was my mistake. So I'm checking the mic, and Jane's job is to check the sound and do like an audio check now before we get going, just to make sure that the sound is good. Oh, I see, Sarah, you're not indoors. So yeah, but you wish you were. Yeah, it's good. We like it down here. It's very chilled and mellow. It sort of feels like almost holiday time, really. So when we come down to the caravan, it feels like we're kind of jumping away from normality. Still working, of course, but the work that we do is generally mostly online. So obviously we can be anywhere effectively, even in a field with a hotspot. So it's quite good. Very fortunate position to be in, which is nice. Okay, so whilst people are joining, so we can move on to the conversation. So light workers, really. So we all talk about, or we all hear about the word light workers when we're talking about spirituality, but nobody really I never really understood what it meant, particularly from that perspective. So my understanding of a light worker really is kind of a spiritual light worker. So it's a soul that's chosen really across probably many lives to try and be a beacon of healing, guidance, and I guess higher consciousness in this world, really. So we're not just here to kind of awaken ourselves, but part of being a light worker, I think, is to assist other people to remember who they are, really, their divine kind of nature, what they're here to do, who they're here to connect with and work with. And of course, we all find each other. So as we're doing today, really on these sorts of calls and in different ways, we normally incarnate into families, probably not with other light workers, but then we kind of find each other in different ways. And of course, that tends to come across in our private life, in our social life. We meet other light workers at work when we're doing different jobs, doing different things. So it is one of those things that we sort of bump into each other, and you kind of know someone that is a light worker because generally you get that connection with them. And I think from my perspective, light workers kind of carry that innate wisdom and that sensitivity that we often see and feel. People that are generally able to sense unseen feelings quite deeply. And there's that kind of knowing, I guess, that we're part of something greater than just the material world. And I think when you move on to your spiritual path, that is one of the first things that you start to notice, is that you feel different to the people around you. You notice that you're different than most of your family members, and and people you've been living with for a long time. And I think when you move on to the spiritual path, generally your life kind of falls apart to a certain degree. And I guess that is one of the characteristics of a light worker, someone that's been kind of in the matrix, in the system, as we kind of see it really. And then at some point, something, normally an event happens in your life. You may get divorced, have children, maybe relationships finish or something, but something just generally happens that makes you question everything effectively. And when you question everything about the material life, material calling, then of course you start to find yourself being drawn and connected to other people. And generally those other people would be called light workers, people like yourself. So I think there's a strong inner calling for those of us that see themselves as light workers, really, and a deep sense that we're kind of here for a reason. Most people, I think, in their younger days don't really think about what they're here to do and probably why they're here at all. It's more about the kind of the wheel, being a hamster on that wheel, going to work, earning money, coming home, doing food, sorting out families, and then it's kind of rinse and repeat 5 days a week, and then you get 2 days to actually find some time for yourself if you can. And in that 2 days, it's trying to kind of link to some downtime to a certain degree. So I think for most people don't really get the downtime and the space to actually find out who they really are and to try and connect with other people like them. But again, this strong inner calling is there, and it tends to build. So again, I know from my perspective on my spiritual path, there's a lot of frustration, I think, that comes in for most light workers, because you feel like you're being drawn to do something, generally kind of service orientated from a spiritual perspective, but you're not exactly sure what really, and you're not exactly sure who is on that path with you and who you can kind of identify with and connect to. So I think it's fair to say that we feel lost really as a light worker in the matrix. And it's only when you start to really find out who you are, to do some of that shadow work and that inner work, and then connect into the right people like you, people that are light workers, then we start to realize that there is this very different path. And there are lots of people on that path. And when you find yourself on that path, you realize that there's a whole line of people, like a big long caravan, kind of all walking together, people that you can talk to, people that understand the words that you're saying, the conversation, and the narrative that you have generally. And they're people like you, but generally people dispersed across the whole planet. So not many people find other light workers in their local area. Generally, with the use and the help of the internet now, you can actually find groups in Facebook, social media. Other people come into your path that are light workers, and they're basically put in your path probably by your spirit guides to a certain degree, to kind of bring you onto that path and to kind of open you up and to find your kin, effectively, people like yourself, which is always good. So I'm just going to say, Born to be Sovereign Spirit is here, says hi. Not quite sure who you are actually, but anyway, hi. Obviously you'll probably tell us your name. It'll be someone I'm sure that we know, which will be good. So I think there's this desire to heal and to help, really, whether that's through energy healing, listening to people. Listening, of course, is one of the biggest things we can do as light workers, is listen to people that need help, people that have observations, people that are going through difficult times in their life, need just that little bit of support and a voice, really, someone that will listen without judgment. And then we've got kind of teaching arts and things, or just being present. Again, light workers are kind of drawn to be there to uplift and support other people. And we all know people that are going through difficult times, through traumas, through problems. And there seems to be a lot of people these days going through an awful lot of trauma. And there isn't really a lot of support for those people. Oh, it's Kate. Oh, hi, Kate. Good to see you. It threw me there with Born to be Sovereign Spirit. But I like the title, which is really cool. So that's good. So I think this is the thing. I think we're kind of here to help each other. We're here and drawn to support and to help and uplift. And that is one of the key characteristics, I think, really, of a light worker. Someone that is walking. Jane said this morning, actually, when we were talking about what a light worker is and what they are, she said, well, they just walk amongst us. But you don't know them because, again, they could be a neighbour, it could be someone you work with, it could be someone who works in a shop, someone doing a mundane job, potentially, kind of hidden in the physical body. But if you could actually see their vibration and you could see their light, you would then realise and see that they are light workers. They're just kind of hidden in plain sight, really. So they do walk amongst us continually, and trying to find people like us and people we connect with is obviously quite a core part of this path, I think, because obviously we feel more bonded and we feel happier when we're around people like us that have the same feelings, people that are empathic, people that are intuitive. And then, of course, light workers are connecting to source energy. We're connecting to our higher self. We're connecting to spirit guides, the angelic layers, the collective consciousness to a certain degree. And this connection obviously guides our choices, and it kind of inspires our work, I think. It's one of the things I try and do. I try and connect to my higher self and make sure that I'm talking to Chen on a daily basis, and we have conversations about all sorts of things, which is always cool. And as we do those things, it gives me that kind of connection to that kind of collective conscious awareness, really, to place myself in the right place and to kind of do the right things. And that's how we're making our choices as to what we do and how we do things. And I think we're all doing the same to a certain degree. And of course, we've all got different paths. So some of us are here to talk, some of us are here to listen, some of us are here to teach. We're all doing different things in different ways, and we're all called probably to do different things in different ways. But I think empathy and compassion are two kind of key core characteristics for light workers, really, because light workers can generally see through levels and layers of pain and the illusion that other people pretend they're okay, but we recognize the light within them and we know that they're not okay, and we're there to give empathy and compassion. And this gives light workers, really, I think, the ability to hold space for healing without judgment. And so many people talk about holding space, and then we think, well, what does that actually mean? What does holding space mean? Just being there, really, just being there as someone in the background. If you're feeling like you're having a difficult time, you can turn around and there are people stood behind you that aren't there to really guide you, but they're here to support you in any ways that they need to be, really. So hi to Liz, good to see you. And Helene has also joined. Good to see you, Helene. So I think a lot of light workers are probably misunderstood, really, or feel out of place, because of course our frequency doesn't generally match the societal normals. I've never really felt normal in society. I still do it every day now. I say to Jim, why do people do these crazy things? You watch the news or you hear things and you think, why do people make these odd choices? So I think as light workers, we don't really understand quite often the kind of the planet that we're living on and the people we're living around, and certainly the societal normal things that are going on as well. So light workers generally feel like they're outsiders, I think, especially in their kind of early years, before they have that real kind of embraced spiritual awakening, when we start to know who we are. When we know who we are and we know what we're here to do, then we're on our path and we're guided, we're connected to spirit, we're connected to our higher self. So we're getting all that kind of awareness coming in, and then we're off. We're kind of on that path and we know where we're going, and we're happy to kind of march forward, basically picking up and helping people that need our help on the way. So I think the spiritual purpose, really, of light workers is to anchor these high frequencies. We know that light workers, we know that we emit light, we know that we do meditation, and Chen's mentioned many times, when we're in meditation, we open ourselves, we clear our chakra system, we ground ourselves to the planet, and then we broadcast light. And Chen said to me many times, we can tell the vibratory frequency of people by the amount of light they broadcast. So the more spiritual you are, the longer you've been on the spiritual path, the more cleansing and clearing you've done of yourself and the shadow, it would make sense that the more light that we're broadcasting. And of course, energies and entities in spirit can see that light, which of course is a two-way thing, because if we're broadcasting a lot of light on the astral plane, that's good in one way, because it shows that we've got this high frequency. But of course, it also makes us a target for the negative side. So the negative agenda will look for people broadcasting large amounts of light. And of course, they will try and come into your life in different ways, or they'll put people in your life on your path in different ways to try and bring you off that path, and obviously to dull that light. So we are in that place that we need to kind of be observant that if we broadcast too much light openly, then darkness will be attracted to our space to try to change that. So the way that I see things now is it's almost like we're all in the trenches. We know that there's a spiritual war going on. We see it every day. We know that things are not right, really, from a kind of planetary perspective. But we also know that we're here to harness and anchor these high frequencies, and we're here to broadcast this light. And we're here to transmute darkness. I think this is what a light worker is here to do, is to transmute that negative energy, that negative vibration. And darkness comes in different ways. It can be personal, probably ancestral. There's collective darkness, I guess. So there's lots of different ways that we can think about negativity and darkness. But being a light worker is all about broadcasting that high frequency, anchoring that high frequency into the grid wherever you live. So if you think of yourself almost like an acupuncture pin, really, where your guides find you and they pop you in where you live, there's one there, and then they take one different side of the planet, you get popped in there, so you're holding the frequency there. And all over the world, there's all these acupuncture pins being popped in by our spirit guides, and each one is a light worker holding that frequency and holding that vibration. And that's kind of our job. And I've said many times to Chen in the past, what do we need to do? Or, what can we do? Or what can we advise people to do that are light workers? And Chen would just laugh and say, as long as they wake up in the morning, doesn't really matter what they do, doesn't really matter what they say. If they can wake up and just go through the day and then go to bed and go to sleep, they're holding that frequency. And light workers are generally placed in the most negative places. So if you look at your life, you look at where you live and the people around you, don't be too surprised if you've been put amongst a very dark area, whether it's geographically in a city or in a part of a continent that's negative or around negative people, or you're living in a condo or a flat or some sort of apartment and there's lots of negative people around you doing negative things. You're there to hold that vibration, to hold that light, basically. And that's kind of your job. It's just to wake up every day, smile, and kind of keep going, really. So I'm going to take a moment to say hi to Joanna and Liz. I think Liz has joined the chat. Also Kira and Mary. Good to see you, Mary. And Mimi too. So there's quite a few people in the chat. Great to see you. Any questions, pop them in before Chen comes in, and then I can see if we can answer them. So really, from a light worker's perspective, you're kind of here to hold this vibration. And the way that I see it is that we're kind of here to guide other people through their awakening. We know at the moment there's a lot of things going on around the world that appear to be very negative, and people can go into despair and into kind of worry. And we know that those are low frequencies. Worry, fear is very low frequency of vibration. So we're trying not to get sucked into that frequency. We need to hold the light. We need to hold the vibration. We need to hold the energy. And even if there's chaos around us, we need to be sat there having a coffee in the middle of the street whilst everyone else is running around in a state of fear. We're holding the vibration. We're holding the light, basically. And we're kind of energy conduits. So we're channeling divine healing and also information through ourselves. And I think this is the key thing, is that we probably don't realize exactly what we are and how we do things, but we are these energy channels, and the guides are working through us and they're working with us continually to hold and channel that energy back into the planet, which is obviously a key point, really. So Kira's just asking in the chat, do the organizational pieces extend our light body? I guess they probably do. I guess I would think that would be the case, Kira. Yeah, for sure. Just going to say hi to Miriam as well. And Kira's talking about orgonite. So again, there's lots of things that we can have around us and on us that obviously change our vibration and hold that frequency. So we know now, I wear like a shungite bracelet that tends to be on me most of the time, because I know when I've got this on, it's quite a high vibration. It feels quite protective. I kind of notice the feeling if I don't have it on. And there's other things that I wear, obviously our own pendants and things. And again, you know that when they're on you and around you, they're holding that key vibration. And in fact, when I go into hotel rooms and stay in hotels, I normally take my pendant off and put them by the door just to stop any negative energy coming through the doorway at night, because I always forget to take pyramids with me. But I know that I've got my pendant on, so I can take that off, lay it by the door whilst I'm asleep, and it just keeps that vortex of positive and protective energy where that doorway is, keeping things back. And that seems to work really well. Obviously, since I can see entities and see energy, I know that they don't like stepping across. So it kind of worked from that perspective for sure. Good to say hi to Ashley. Good to have you here as well. So I think really, Lightworkers really are here to support the planetary evolution. That's my kind of take. We're here to shift this conscious awareness of humanity from fear to love and unity. And that's kind of our role. And everyone that's here, everyone that's listening to this, you know that you're here as a light worker. And light work, I guess, kind of may not always look like a job, really. So many light workers are healers and psychics, therapists and teachers, different people doing different things. Other people might express their light through music, which of course is vibratory, so high vibration. And obviously writing, parenting, gardening, activism. But I think just being present, really, with yourself, holding that vibration. Again, if you can be that person that sits in the middle of the road drinking coffee whilst chaos happens around you, then you're doing your job. You're here as a light worker to anchor that energy and that high frequency. And of course, your guides can work through you too. James just reminded me that I always have a pyramid in my case. I know, but I never find it, oddly. Because I do a man look, and I always think, I haven't got a pyramid, so I need to use my pendant. Nothing changes in our world, really. So the challenges of being a light worker, so energetic overload, I guess, and burnout, really, from absorbing other people's pain. Most people that are light workers, I think, are very empathic, because again, you know, high frequency energy, you're going to be connecting to people, and this is where we need to learn to protect our energy, protect ourselves from other people. Otherwise, we absorb their pain, we absorb their negativity, and that causes obviously energetic overload and burnout to light workers. And if you think about the light workers that you know, people that you work around and work with, burning out is a big problem. And many therapists, we work with so many therapists that are doing amazing work. But one of the things they do struggle with is holding their own protection, protecting their energy, protecting their field from negative things. And this, of course, is key to being able to maintain the work. So if you're here as a light worker to work the rest of your life, if you get turned on in your 30s and you're going to live to, say, 80 or something, then effectively you've got like 50 years of holding that vibration, holding that energy, trying to help other people, and obviously walking your own path. And 50 years is a long time to carry a high frequency and to carry that light, really, and obviously to work with our guides. So trying to maintain a protective energy around you and keeping yourself from absorbing other people's pain and trauma is obviously one of the key things. And that, I think, is what spiritual protection really is truly about, is us protecting ourselves from everyone else. Because effectively, if we're protecting ourselves, then we can walk into any level of chaos, into any problem areas, or we can sit with people that have got different traumas they're going through and just not connect to their energy, help them through it, talk to them, be there to help and advise, but not to take it on ourselves. And I think so many light workers do suffer that they do take on other people's problems, and by taking on other people's problems, you take on their energy, and of course their energy is negative, fearful, painful traumas and things, and we don't want that in our field generally to be able to help. I think spiritual isolation and loneliness on the path is pretty key. I remember going back, for me it was probably 30 years ago when I first met Jane, and I felt really lonely on the spiritual path. I knew one person, my friend Rob, who kind of took my hand really and said, look, come to a meditation class, you've got all this stuff going on in your life, there's lots of problems, you need a bit of help. And he kind of opened the door to me really and said, look, follow me. But that was a lonely old path, as I remember being in bed at 3 a.m, having all sorts of spiritual things going on, with no one to turn to, no one to phone, no one knows the answers. Particularly if you're not into religion, you can't even go along that path either. So the spiritual path of a light worker, I think, is quite isolating really. And then of course we look at past life wounds and karmic patterns that come up. They need to be healed and they need to be worked through too. And then we've got doubt and self-worth struggles. Most light workers doubt themselves. Most light workers struggle, I think, really with self-worth in different ways, especially in this kind of crazy world that we're living in, whereby our values of sensitivity or intuition don't seem to be very valid. So we look at people around us and think, there aren't many people that seem to be sensitive to what's going on. There aren't many people that seem to be intuitive either, particularly. So we're looking to connect to those people. And obviously, you guys on this call and people listening to this in catch-up are going to be in the same space and think, yes, I'm on the path. It's a lonely path. It's a difficult path. But when you do find people like you, and you do find places and people to kind of connect with, then that changes everything. And I think that's the challenge for the light worker, really, is for them to deepen their wisdom and clarity and resilience. And then you kind of emerge more empowered and you're aligned with your mission. It's like someone's given you the piece of paper to say, this is what you're supposed to be doing. And you read it and you think, right, I'm on it. This is my job. This is what I'm here to do. I'm going to be of service. My soul's going to be of service, really. I'm going to be walking through life now with open eyes and an open heart. And I'm kind of here to heal and uplift and transmute and kind of awaken other people, really. And you know that you're here to hold the light in the darkest of places. And I guess that's the biggest segue point for me personally, really, that light workers were here. It's no good of us all being in the same place. You imagine a whole bunch of light workers together we'd have a great time talking, chatting at some retreat, but we wouldn't be working because, of course, we'd all be together. There'd be no work to do. But if you put light workers in the darkest of places, you're holding that high vibratory frequency, you're holding that energy. That's where the real work's really happening. And, of course, that's the difficult place to be, really. So light working, for me, isn't really a title particularly. I think it's more like a soul agreement, a vibration, certainly a frequency, and it's kind of a way of being. It's like who you are. This is who I am. I'm here to hold the light. I'm here to vibrate at a high frequency and work with my spirit guides. And then people that come into my path that I like and like me, we connect together, and obviously we work forward together. And when we work forward together, we kind of shift the world's vibration. So I think for me, certainly light workers now are being called forward to step up and shine brightly more than ever before, really. There's so much, there feels like there's a lot going on from a negative perspective, and, without getting into the politics and that kind of thing, yesterday there was obviously a big kind of pivotal moment in the world's politics with Iran and that kind of stuff, which we won't really go into, but you can imagine that there's a lot of light required to help to resolve some of these situations, really. And I think being a light worker kind of is reminding other people that they're light workers and they need to shine their inner light. And that is the kind of key thing, really. So I'm just going to quickly look in the chat. So Kira's talking about imposter syndrome pops up. I think imposter syndrome is always there, really. I think this is the thing, Kira. It's a really good thing to kind of to raise. I think there's probably two levels of imposter syndrome, really. I think there's people that have negativity connected to them, and their understanding is that they want to shine their light and they want to speak and do the right things and they want to be positive, and that deep inner knowing is kind of there, but they've been distracted by dark energies and they've been taken down a different route, really, which is of course what imposter syndrome is about. I think anyone that's going to be on this path, if we look at a lot of the big names spiritually, I watch Gaia, as I'm sure most of you probably do, as well as other things. There's some big spiritual names on Gaia. But, we've been working with quite a few of those big spiritual people because they get targeted so quickly by the negative side. If you've got an audience of 50 people, the dark side's not too bothered about what you do and say, really. If you've got an audience of 500,000 people and you're trying to promote positivity and trying to educate and kind of work with people, you can imagine you're going to get targeted really quickly because you've got this huge, big audience. And that audience is coming online and they're raising their vibration. So the higher people go spiritually, I think, and the bigger networks they have, the more influence they have, then of course the faster they get targeted by the dark side, and that's where the imposter syndrome issue tends to come in, really. And this is one of the things that we do from a kind of Spirit Release Academy perspective. The Academy is designed to be, a light worker base, whereby everyone that works with us is thinking and talking about protection on a daily basis. And as an academy, we have emergency groups that people can ping every single day. If they feel something's not right or that one of their family members is having a problem, we're continually clearing and trying to keep everybody in the academy in their highest frequency, broadcasting that light. So you can imagine if we've got 60, 70, 80 people, I think there's about 60 at the moment practitioners, so 60 practitioners vibrating at a high frequency, clearing other people, doing the work. But if you had 600 people or 6,000 practitioners, then of course when we multiply the numbers, those numbers of people around the world making this huge change to everyone and to their own families. So this is what I think light working is all about. It is about firstly working for you, and then once you've got yourself sorted, you then pick up somebody else's hand and take them forward, and you help them to change and guide, and we kind of work forward in that way. That's kind of my version of a light worker, what they're here to do. I'm sure Chen's got a very different opinion, most likely. So what we'll do is we'll get Chen to come in and give us his wisdom, which will be good. Let's take my watch off. Okay, so just bear with me a sec. I'll set an alarm. Because as we know, Chen does need to have a timer, really. As I'm sure you lot would be more than happy for Chen to talk for about 4 hours non-stop. But for me, you need a timeline to work to generally, because there's always something else to do on a timeline that I need to work with from a physical perspective. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to hand over to Chen. Just set this up, which is all good. So he's ready to come in. Okay, we're still broadcasting live. Good. Fab. Okay, I'll see you guys in half an hour. So I'll hand over to Chen. good day to you all. Thank you very much for joining this particular conversation. And of course, I'd like to thank young Andrew for giving us his opinion. It's very interesting that my opinion of things and his opinion, of course, is quite different generally, because he has his own experiences and understandings, and that's coming from a practical living perspective going through his normal everyday life. And of course, I am a discarnate spiritual entity, and when I come into the body, I take over the physicality as I am today for the purposes of delivering guidance and speaking to you all and being able to address everyone in this particularly appropriate manner, which of course is wonderful. But from my perspective, of course, as a discarnate spirit, there is a disconnection between normal life. So I watch normal life, I watch young Andrew, and of course Jane, and other people closely related, and we're connecting to some of the practitioners, obviously, that work with the Academy too, and we're watching what's happening in their life and how they evolve and how they work through different types of issues that come up. But of course, when you do not have a physical body, you don't have emotion. And this, of course, is the big difference. So I view things from a discarnate spiritual perspective without connection of emotion. Whereas when each of you have an argument with someone, or you feel victimized, or you feel something quite traumatic or negative, your emotions dictate your feelings, of course, but they also dictate your conscious awareness. So your mind goes into overdrive, being driven by the emotional state. So if we took the emotional state away from you, you would react differently, of course, because emotions are the key part of the human experience. So when we discuss light workers and what a light worker is a spiritual person, a spiritual energy. And as young Andrew said earlier, you're here to hold a vibratory frequency. Light workers generally are born and come into the planet generally at quite key times. So if you look at your astrological birth chart, you'll notice that when your inception date came up and you were incarnated from the womb, most people are coming in at very interesting times because you're bringing in energy when you are birthed. And of course, this is why the birthing process and the timeline and the time and date of birth is so important. And this, of course, is why society generally, people want to know your date of birth, because it means something. It's not just when you came into this physical world, it's when your energy came into the world. And if you look at people that are being born or incarnating here, that are light workers, you're coming in with a very specific frequency band, and you're able to achieve a very high frequency. Other people that may not be here, as we would say, light workers, to experience and do the things that many of you are here for, are not able to achieve these higher frequencies. And this is why you'll find that society in every country in the world is divided between conscious awareness. So it's not where people are clever or not clever, or whether people have been schooled or not schooled, or we could say programmed or not programmed. It's about your energy and your frequency. A light worker is incarnating with the ability to achieve a very, very high frequency of vibration and to hold that energy inside their light body. And when you do that, of course, you broadcast that light, as Yolanda did say, on the astral plane. So we could look at 5 or 6 people in a queuing for a bus, and there'll be different frequencies. But if we look at them from a light perspective, we would be able to see which ones are light workers, because their frequency band is so much higher. Even if they're not broadcasting light, they still have a much higher frequency. And then we have other people that are not really going to be here on their spiritual path. They haven't come in to work spiritually in that way. They may be working on themselves. They may be working for the dark agenda. And of course, as we have light workers, so we have dark workers. And we don't often speak of dark workers. We generally speak of the negative agenda. The negative agenda we know is negative energy, and there are people that are aligned with the negative agenda, as there are organizations and such like. But dark workers have to be applicable because everything is balanced. So if we have a light worker that can achieve a high frequency of vibration, broadcast light on the astral, so we must have a dark worker that's doing the opposite. They have a low frequency of vibration. They're here to put out the light to a certain degree, or certainly to hold the light down. And of course, all of you will have come across dark workers. Many of you will have had relationships with people that tried to control you in different ways, tried to put your light out. They would have tried to manipulate how you feel, manipulate your emotional state, manipulate your senses, remove your self-worth and confidence. So some of these people are here as dark workers, and they're here to bring and to pull that vibration down, and they're also here to attract and try to attach to light workers. So they are here, and their raison d'etre, their reason for being, is to find light workers to attach to them emotionally in relationships. Could be your family, could be your parents, probably not your friends, of course, because you will have chosen your friends based upon their energy with you. But it could be your work colleagues, people that are being mean to you, people that are quite nasty, people that make you feel like you have no self-worth. These could be dark workers, and their job is to go around to find a light worker to attach to them the same way that a flea would attach to a dog, and then basically to try to put that light out. So there is this happening on a daily basis, and it's good for you to observe it, because of course when you come into contact with each other as light workers, you smile, you laugh, you feel like you know each other, you have the same thoughts and feelings, you're quite sensitive or empathic, and you think, yes, this is a brother or a sister to me, they have the same energy as me, this is one like me, a light worker. But of course for the dark agenda and for dark workers, they're going to present in a different way. So they generally present to be attractive energetically to a light worker. So these are going to be people that do things and say things that you might find yourself drawn to, but for the wrong reasons. So we always say that, or quite often in society you hear of females that are drawn to the naughty boy image. You have this archetype of a naughty person, a naughty man that does lots of things that are particularly negative, and many females are drawn to that archetype, and they don't understand why, because it's not a person you want to have in your life. It's not a person you want to have a relationship with or get married to, of course, because they're going to continue to be negative for you through the rest of your life. But for some reason you're drawn to them, and this is because they're dark workers, and they morph and they change their appearance and change themselves to be attractive to light workers, to basically take you down the wrong path. So if you can imagine a big long road, effectively, that you're walking, you've got your rucksack on, you're holding your big staff in front of you, and you're marching forward, and you're thinking, I'm a light worker, I'm here to work with the light, I'm here to broadcast my energy and my frequency, I'm looking for people like me. And then from each side road, every time there's a side road that comes up on this long path, someone's there waiting for you. And every single time someone's there waiting for you, they're waiting there for you to take you off your path. So they'll present in different ways. They may have hobbies that you like, they may do things that you like, they may do drugs or substances, or they might try to encourage you down the wrong path, because at each and every junction there's a dark worker in your path somewhere, and they're going to basically pull you off of that path. So your job is to try to get to the end of this big long road where you broadcast your light and your vibration rises dramatically during the course of your incarnated life. And at every junction there's a dark worker just waiting for you. They could be in the coffee shop, they could be serving you coffee and cakes, they could be at work, they could be your cousins or your nephews. But you need to observe when people say and do things that don't align with your emotional state, your feeling. And of course everything comes back to trust, truth and integrity, really. So each light worker on the planet here comes in with a high vibration, a high frequency, broadcasting your light, but you have core values, you have integrity in yourself, you speak your truth. You probably don't speak your truth enough, but you know your truth. You may not broadcast it verbally, and this is something that most light workers probably need to work on, is to actually say what they believe, because that actually changes your frequency. It makes you a light worker. You can be the one black sheep amongst all of the white sheep, and you stand up and you say, no, I don't agree that we do this, we don't agree that we do that. This is where I stand. And you can take yourself out energetically. And this is what light workers are here to do. They're here to hold the vibration, hold the frequency with truth, integrity and trust. And of course, that's a very big ask for anyone. It's very difficult to be the person that stands out and walks in a different direction continually. especially when you're living on a planet with so many people that are not light workers. And as we just said earlier, not only are there dark workers, there are benign energies. There are people here. People talk about them as NPCs, non-playing characters. And if you think there's a portion of the population that would be an NPC, not really here to do anything, they're just existing, they're here to live a life, they're here to do things. They'll come into your path, you'll see them, you'll meet them, and if you're aware, if you're connected to your guides, if you're connected to yourself, it will dawn on you, this is a non-playing character. They're not here to do anything, they're just here to be part of this life, really. The dark worker, you see, they're narcissistic people that aren't very good with animals, or people that hurt animals. They can hurt children. We know what a dark worker looks like. We know the profile. And most of you here on this call, or people that listen to this on catch-up, will be aware what dark workers do, how they present, and you'll see their narcissistic personalities, because you all will have come across them, because they're on those junctions waiting for you. So as you walked into your teenage years, you'd have met people and you'll have had relationships with dark workers that were here to snuff your light out, take you down the wrong path, get you into substance abuse or into all sorts of other negative activities that stop you walking that big, long, straight road towards the light. So all of you will be able to associate with a dark worker. But of course, these non-playing characters are also in the game. So if you start to see your life as a game, effectively, imagine a board on a table, and your job is to get from one side of that board to the other. And when you get to the other side of the board, your vibration will be huge. Your light will be broadcasted on the astral immensely. You'll be carrying this hugely high frequency, and you will have basically won a place at a different type of table in your future life. So this is what you're here to do, is to walk along that road. And when these junctions come up and we meet these people that come into our lives, is to continually cast them aside, sidestep them, push them back, move them out of the way, and start speaking your truth and holding your integrity and your trust and your truth. That's your job in this game. And as these people come across you, some of them are effectively clones, really, non-playing characters. They have no value at all. So you can have relationships or conversations with them, but they won't hold any interest to you because they don't have a high vibration. They're not broadcasting light. And if they're not broadcasting light, you won't align with them. So you will align with people like you. And the higher your frequency goes or becomes, the more light you broadcast by doing spiritual techniques and tools and working with people. And of course, when you're actually working and you're healing and doing the things you're here to do, of course your frequency goes up. So then this element that you're ticking your boxes, you're feeling like you've achieved something, you're going to find inside you there's a drive that starts to come online, that you want to do more and you want to do more. And what's the next thing that I can do? And this drive is going to push you continually across that board, heading for that bright light at the end. And this is what we're looking for all of you to do to a certain degree, is to just be you. Just hold the light, hold the frequency, speak your truth, speak with integrity and truth, and open your heart to love. Most people, certainly on these sorts of calls, I'm sure, will have been hurt in relationships, will have been hurt in different ways, hurt by family, by friends, traumatized by parents. All of you as a light worker will have gone through difficult situations in your life, because light workers do. That's what happens. But the way to work things is you'd look forward, not backwards, and think, I'm reinventing a new me. Every day I wake up, I'm reinventing a new me with a higher vibration. I'm broadcasting more light. What am I here to do? I'm here to hold the light. I'm here to hold the vibration. I'm here to push people and signpost people in a positive way. So when we look at lots of these negative things that are happening on the planet in different places, and there seems to be wars and death and people dying, the light worker's job is to not get sucked into chaos. It's to sidestep the chaos, sidestep the dark workers, and to continue walking forward, smiling, playing the flute like a Pied Piper, picking up all of the strays behind you and leading them to the light. That's your job. That's what you're here to do. And you'll see around you there are people doing these things. Everyone will go through elements or times in the life of depression, of anxiety, of fear, of course. But you're human beings. You will feel fear. If you're put in a fearful situation, then you will feel fear. But you're able to transcend that energy and keep moving forward, keep looking at the light, walking forward, connecting to your guides, staying connected to your higher self. If you're struggling with that, excuse me, stay connected to other light workers. This is where you need to find each other. You find groups and organizations and teams of people like you, and you pull each other along. Nobody can stay at the top continually. Everyone has to have someone that picks them up when they fall down and say, come walk with me, climb on my back. I'll carry you for a bit until you feel better, and I'll put you down when you feel better and you start walking again, my friend. And then when I need a lift, I'll jump on your back. And this is the way that we work. It's the way that we work spiritually. It's all spiritual workers, spiritual teachers have to have people around them that can support them, that can help them. You can't get behind someone and expect them to carry everybody else. It's not possible to do. It's too difficult. So spiritual teachers primarily are put in your path to guide you, to help you, to align you with the end goal. But at some point you need to help them. This is a team game, and this is what I say to Andrew quite often, certainly when we're talking about the Spirit Release Academy, which of course is the collective energy of lightworkers pushed together into a group of people, practitioners that are here to take on the darkest energies and forces on this planet. And you're not doing it alone, you're doing it with our team. We have a huge team of spiritual entities with the highest of vibrations, the highest of light, with the most truth and integrity. And we're here to offer ourselves up eye to eye against the negative side. And we're here to work with light workers like yourselves to walk you forward and to keep this movement and this vibratory change. Because at the moment on planet Earth, there is a huge change happening. And of course, the negative side is losing this battle. And this is why you're seeing these jerk reactions happening. You might see them as quite negative things that are happening, but they're happening because the vibration's coming up so quickly. So many people are being turned on. So many of you are picking up another person by the hand and saying, follow me, or jump on my back for a moment. I'll take you forward. Come on, friends, let's work together. As each of you finds someone, pulls them forward, the vibration's coming up. And this is why the negative side is starting to really panic. And of course, that means that they need to try to create more fear and more chaos. And this is the way that they work. This is the board game. This is how things work. But we can assure you that from our perspective, ours being positive energies, I could give you many different names of energies and entities and groups and organizations that we connect with and work with. But I choose not to do that because we don't need to name drop anything. We just look at what we do and how we do things. And this was the reason d'etre, really, the reason for being for the Spirit Release Academy is that it's a new name. It doesn't come from anything in the past. It has a lot of old entities and energies working with us and for us. And of course, Dr. Palmer was one of the physical human people that helped to start this whole new protocol, this whole new idea. So there are many entities that I work with on a daily basis that all of you know by name. All of you will be quite astounded if we were to list them all, but they're not here because of their names. They're not here because they want to be connected to anything. They're here to work. They're here to provide help, and they're here to drive change. And this is the key, is that the practitioners that we're working with, and yourselves, of course, too, you're all here to orchestrate change. And that's what we're here to do together as a collective. And the more we stay together, the more we stay connected, the faster the change. And this is the key. And this, of course, is what I say to you, Andrew, often. Don't bother listening to people that are speaking. Judge people by what they do, not by what they say. And this, of course, is the key thing. So many people in the spiritual area are actually dark workers presenting as light workers, or they're light workers that have been taken off the path. They've been taken down a negative route. We have imposter syndrome happening, and they're now broadcasting negative energy, or they're broadcasting negative conversations, or they're taking people down a complete loop. So people that have been walking forward find someone saying the right sorts of things, find themselves connected and aligned with that person, and then they start walking backwards and going a huge big loop before 2 or 3 years later, they pop back out and realise they hadn't gone forward at all. They've been taken off their path by people that have that imposter syndrome conversation. So it's very keen, and this is what we would like all of you to do, is listen to the narrative of the people that you follow, not just the words, see what they do. Are they doing what they say they do? Do they live the same life that they say? So many people, certainly in the spiritual area, I know Andrew laughs and calls it the spiritual Wild West, whereby you've got all of these people that have influence, basically, but when you look at their personal lives, they don't do what they say they encourage everyone else to do. And this, of course, is the key thing. So trying to find someone that's authentic, speaking with the truth, speaking from a place of integrity, is actually quite difficult to do. But your higher self and your energy and vibration will align to people, listen to what they say, and then just watch what they do. And if they do what they say, then these are people that would be good to be followed. If they don't do what they say, or something feels off, then assume that there could be some sort of negative imposter energy, and then just be careful about your choices, because of course that is your spiritual compass. It's your spiritual barometer, really. That frequency, you're going to line yourself with people that vibrate at certain frequencies, and you're looking for people that are vibrating at the highest frequency of light, that are actually walking that path, and these are the people to connect with, because one day you'll be at the front. Because again, this is a continual, one person moves from the back to the front, and then the front person drops back a couple of spaces, and this is how things work. And this is how we all move forward as a collective, is that we don't just follow blindly behind the person at the front because they are saying the most things. We need to be taking turns and moving forward and continually changing the order, because of course that way we keep the target in place. If everyone's walking to the light, and we know that it's the light that is the destination, if somebody walks off sideways, you let them go, and we all continue to follow the path to the light. And that is the key, really, from my perspective. A light worker is here to broadcast their light, to head for that light, the light being the highest frequency that they can achieve, and their vibration. And of course, to teach people. All of you have been through different experiences in your life. Stand up. Tell people about your experiences. Tell people, explain to people that the wrong decisions you made, the things that you didn't do particularly well, the things that you're embarrassed about. Because, of course, this is you being authentic and truthful. And this, I think, is what's required certainly in the social media world these days, is people to be authentically themselves. Not try and be perfect, because we know you're not perfect. You're human. You can't be perfect. Nobody can be perfect. But you can be authentic. And if you get something wrong, you put your hands up and you say, goodness me, I made a mistake. And this is what I've done to recover from it. So trying to be authentic, try and speak your truth. And be that person that is benign. So you're neither negatively aligned or positively, really, but you're that person that's always in the middle, the person, the voice of reason that people can come to, because you don't get excitable about problems, you don't get drawn into chaos and negativity. You just keep walking along that path and you keep heading for that light. So really, from my perspective, that's what a light worker is. A light worker is a person that's heading along that big straight road to the light, to raise their vibration, to signpost other people, and to help people on the way and on the journey. So we, from a spiritual perspective, I can assure you, take our hats off to each and every one of you. It's a difficult life. It's a difficult place to be. You've taken on a journey, and that journey is obviously difficult and trying at times, but it's not insurmountable. You just head for the light, find people like you, and just keep walking, and that will see you through as part of your life lessons. So I will say good day to you all. It's been my, what would be the right word? Gratitude that I'm able to provide this type of counsel and guidance to you all. Of course, the words that I say should resonate with you in a positive way, because they're said with truth and integrity, and they're coming from a place of the highest light. So I will say good day, look after yourselves, and we will look forward to communicating again next week. Good day. Okay, so I'm back, which is good. So there's quite a few comments going on. It's hot in here as well now. So Alicia's joined. Hi to Chen. Good to see you, Alicia. Also to Miss Si, I think. I was born in a house of dog kickers. That's interesting. So I don't know what Chen was talking about, but obviously dogs must have come up in the conversation. Michelle's here as well, so it's good to see Michelle, which is cool. We've got Tracy. Thanks, Tracy. Great to have you here, and Joe as well, which is fab. Cool. Okay, as I'm always saying, really, I've got no idea what Chen's talked about. I'll listen to this again in the replay part and see what he had to say, but hopefully you guys found it interesting. Interesting topic. Again, it's interesting to cover what a light worker is, what they're here to do. We're all light workers, so this is us effectively. So it's kind of good to get sometimes the kind of restocking of why we're here, what we're supposed to be doing, and the path that we're all on. So it's been great to see you all. Take care, and we'll catch you next week. And I will upload this onto Spotify and I think it's Apple Podcasts and Prime, Amazon Video, I think it is, and a few other things. There's a whole load of channels now that we're listing stuff on. So many that I've lost track, actually. So the main ones are covered anyway, which is obviously Spotify, Apple, and Amazon. And we'll catch you next week. Cheers, folks. Bye-bye.